The next few weeks went by, and the gang, along with the Hex Girls, Ox, and Rose, were doing just fine with Nastia and her crew. They'd have done some missions here and there, like scavenging, finding items, missing people, and getting crates for supplies. Despite all that, they had to risk their lives. They were doing a great job on surviving. Ox mainly worked as a trainer for new people who were learning how to shoot guns. Rose was at the guard at the outpost. Other than that, everyone played off different roles to help out. Nastia had even knocked on the Hex Girl's bedroom door one day, so Forn, who was in her bathrobe, got up to answer. She had just finished showering and was just brushing up her hair and getting ready for the new day. "Hey Nastia, what's up?" Forn asked when she answered the door. "Hey Sally, I want to ask you a few questions if you don't mind," Nastia replied. "One of my guards had informed me about a creature last night. It was outside the outpost barricades. He told me that it had yellowed eyes, and he or she was standing about 6 or 7 feet tall." Nastia began to explain. "Have you ever encountered anything like that?" "No, my friends and I haven't, but I do remember Mystery Inc. told me a story about it. I believe it was their 3 old friends from the island." "Yes, an island, that was," Fawn replied, trying to remember what she was told about Mystery Inc.'s encounter with Simone, Lena, and Jacques. "They are free of those things. I'm pretty sure they're cat creatures." "Okay, because one of the guards said it didn't look like a zombie to them, but someone did say that it was in the shape of a strange creature. It might have been a skinwalker or a wendigo," Nastia replied. "It is possible, but Daphne did say that one did try to attack her," Foreigner explained. "It was back when me and her were on a mission. I think they must have came back to life." "I see. Well, thank you for your explanation of what you know," Nastia said, as she leaned on the doorframe. Fred Jones and Daphne knew about the story, same with Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby, but Fred, Daphne, and Velma are the best ones to ask more on, Thorne said as she yawned. Anyways, is there anything else you needed?" "Well, yes. Come to my office for details," Nastia replied. Thorne got dressed and ready, and then walked over to Nastia's office. Once she opened the door, she sat down right in front of Nastia's desk. "All right, Nastia, what is it that you would like me to do?" Thorne asked. "Well, it's going to be a long story short. A man showed up at the front of my hideout a week after the outbreak started. He said that his girlfriend was pregnant and they needed a place to stay, but we didn't have any room for them at the time," Nastia began. "So they were holding out in a cottage out in the woods, so they've been staying there since the outbreak happened." "Did they ever come back to before us?" Thorne asked. "No, they haven't shown up since then. We did say to them to come back in a while and we might take them in, but they never did. We searched for them all over Fairview City and even looked in the countryside, but no luck," Nastia replied sadly. "So you're asking me to go to the cottage and see if they're alive?" Thorne asked again. "Yes, they could be alive, dead, undead, missing, or possibly on another holdout," Nastia said. "I contacted all 4 other hideouts, but they said they hadn't seen the couple. So I'm going to send you along with Shaggy and Scooby on this mission. There is a chance that they could still be alive." "Sounds good. What do you want me to do if I find them?" Thorne asked, as Nastia grabbed a map of Fairview and placed it on the desk. "Bring them here if they're alive, but if they're not alive or at the cottage, report what you find and we'll go from there," Nastia replied. "Sounds good. I'll take my van down there," Thorne said as she went to her room to get ready. While she was doing what she needed to do, Nastia knocked on Shaggy and Scooby-Doo's bedroom door. "Zoinks!" Shaggy said, startled by the all of a sudden knocking at the door. He opened the door to see Nastia. She was the one who knocked while Shaggy was eating with Scooby. "Like, hi, Nastia." "Like, sorry if I freaked out a bit," Shaggy apologized. "I was startled by the all of a sudden knocking." "That's all right, Shaggy. You're going on a mission with your friend Sally McKnight. You and Scooby will be going with her to find a man and a pregnant woman. They had came here about a month when the outbreak started, but we couldn't take them in at the time, and we haven't seen them since," Nastia replied to the mission to Shaggy and Scooby. "Why, that sounds good," Shaggy said nervously. "Ruh-uh," Scooby said while shaking his head. "Why, Scoob, how about 2 Scooby snacks?" Shaggy bribed, but Scooby wouldn't listen. "How about 4? 3? 4? Shaggy bribed again. Scooby finally listened and ate 4 of his Scooby snacks. "Alrighty, I'll be at the front of the holdout. The weapons are in the armory if you need any, Nastia said, as she walked down the hallway and out of sight. Man, Scoob, isn't this awesome? Shaggy said to Scooby with dreamy eyes. Like we get to be with the girl of my dreams on a mission even better. Wow, Raggy, Scooby agreed. When he and Shaggy were ready to head out, they headed out to the front of the outpost. Fawn was waiting for Shaggy in her van, so Shaggy was the one who handed the weapons by the guards. If the people are still alive, bring them back here, Nastia said to Shaggy, Fawn, and Scooby. If you don't find them alive, report on what you saw, and we'll go from there. Will do, Nastia, Fawn replied. Like anything you need, Shaggy replied nervously. Be careful out there, you free, Nastia said as Fawn drove off. It was a 15-minute drive to get out of the huge city. After a while of driving, Fawn turned on a forest road that was not far from the countryside. She then noticed that the forest was surrounding everywhere down the path. Fawn then could see up ahead was an old and abandoned cottage. So that's where the couple was holding out at. Fawn parked her car and then looked around, as there were no zombies in sight. There's no one here, so let's see if the couple is home. Like I have a bad feeling about this place, right, Scoob? Shaggy said nervously as he turned to Scooby. Rhea, Scooby added. He and Shaggy got out of the van with Fawn. As they walked up to the abandoned cottage, Fawn knocked on the door, but there was no reply. So she knocked again, but there was still no answer. Like maybe no one's home, Shaggy suggested as Fawn knocked again, but there was still no one home. Okay, since you're not answering the door, we're coming in. Fawn opened the door to find it unlocked, to which it was strange to her. That is weird. If someone was home, why would they leave the door unlocked? Fawn and Shaggy, along with Scooby, walked inside the cottage. It was old, abandoned, and dusty. Rello, Scooby called out, but there was no reply. Well, if we don't hear or see anyone home, I fear what has happened to them, Fawn began. Shaggy and Scooby, look around on this floor and I'll check upstairs. Why, give us a holler if you find anything, Shaggy replied. Will do. You do the same if you boys find something, Fawn said as she grabbed a knife and headed upstairs with a flashlight. While Shaggy and Scooby were searching the lower level, they were looking around the kitchen. Zoinks! Shaggy said as he saw a spider crawling out of the cupboards. Like it's very vacant in here. Scooby then nodded as he sniffed around the room. Then he saw a book on the coffee table. Scooby picked it up and brought it over to Shaggy. It was a spell book by the looks of it. Like, what is it, Scoob? Shaggy asked. I don't know, Scooby replied. Like, it looks like a spell book to me. As Fawn was upstairs, she opened the bathroom door to see nothing. Then she opened the master bedroom door and found what appeared to be a desk covered with dust. Upon inspecting it, she found a piece of paper with a note. Whoa, look at all the dust on this desk, Fawn said in surprise. She was startled when Shaggy and Scooby walked in the master bedroom. Whoa, Shaggy, you and Scooby startled me. Like, sorry about that, Fawn. Shaggy handed Fawn a book. Look what me and Scooby found. This looks like a spell book, but why is it doing here? Fawn asked while examining the book. Like, we're not sure. Maybe someone was doing ritual magic here? Shaggy guessed as Fawn opened the book and flipped through the pages. There's a lot of spells happening, the name Fawn said suddenly. She found a spell to bring the people back from the dead. I found a spell. It must be the clue on why the zombie outbreak is happening. Like, what spell is it? Shaggy asked. It's a spell to bring back the dead to life. This must have been the spell to bring the cat creatures back, Fawn replied. Zoinks! Like Nastia's guards weren't joking when they saw those creatures. Shaggy was surprised. No, they weren't, but I believe this book might explain more details, but I can't guarantee it, though, Fawn said as she put the spell book in Scooby's bag. Then she examined the note on the cover of the desk. Look at this dust on this desk. Shaggy, this note was only written recently. Fawn picked up the note as she started to get a bad feeling in her gut that something must have happened. Like, what's wrong, Fawn? Shaggy asked. Shaggy, it's this note. It's something I wasn't expecting. It's rather shocking, we'll put it at that, Fawn replied. Well, what does it say? Shaggy asked again. Scooby just sat down and listened. Well, it says, and I quote, I can't go on this global crisis anymore. I'm sorry, Jessica, but I don't see other options. Especially with the baby coming, no one will take us in. So I decided to take my own life just to get out of this living hell. This is a really messed up note, Shaggy. I have a bad feeling right now of what happened to him. Foreign replied. Maybe the boyfriend took his own life? That's possible, as there's no traces of attempt to taking their own life, Shaggy said. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Shaggy, but I do worry for the girlfriend and the unborn child. I hope they're okay, Foreign replied as she and Shaggy was checked on the spare room of the cottage. Upon walking inside, there was a trail of blood on the ground. A trail of blood? I wonder where this will lead to. Foreign walked inside as she held a knife in her hand. Shaggy held his flashlight to light the way. And as soon as Foreign stepped inside with Shaggy, Scooby, they all heard a sound of a baby crying that could be heard. Mike, what's that sound? Shaggy asked. That crying sounds like a baby. Stay behind me, Foreign instructed as she followed the trail of blood. It soon stopped upon the closet door. Foreign took a deep breath and opened the closet. There was a newborn baby and a pile of clothes with a note. A baby's here, but where's the mother? Foreign picked up the baby as Shaggy picked up the note. Foreign, you might want to read what the note says. It might explain it, Shaggy said. He had a bad feeling that the note was bad news, and sure enough, it was bad news. Foreign took the note from Shaggy, and she was even more shocked and said, Oh no. Foreign sighed sadly. This baby has no parents anymore. The mother is gone too. Like I knew it was the bad news and I had the feeling, Shaggy replied. He found a clean blanket and took the baby and wrapped it around. What are we gonna do? We'll report it to Nasty about the baby's life and say that the parents didn't make it, Foreign said. I feel bad for this baby. Now he or she has no parents to raise her. We should take the baby with us now. We should know that the parents are dead, Shaggy said as Foreign nodded in agreement. We have to, Shaggy. Otherwise the baby's a zombie's lunch, Foreign said, or will die from starvation or hypothermia first. Foreign grabbed her stuff as she and Shaggy and Scooby loaded their van with their stuff. Shaggy drove all the way back to Nasty's hideout while Foreign held the baby. Raggy? Rory Rare yet? Scooby asked, wanting to know when they'll be back at the hideout. Like, not yet, Scooby-Doo. It's a bit of a drive, as this cottage where it is at is in the middle of nowhere, Shaggy replied. Foreign to Nastia, over, Foreign said on the walkie-talkie, waiting for a response from Nastia. Nastia here. I hear you loud and clear, Foreign. Any updates on the couple and baby? Nastia asked. Both parents are dead, but the baby's alive, Foreign replied. Damn, that's what I thought about the parents, Nastia sighed sadly. Did you find anything else in the cottage? Well, we found 2 notes and even a spell book. Shaggy thinks that this book might be telling us something, Foreign began. He did say that it might be how the cat creatures come back, but I'm not so sure if this is the one or not. I can't make any guarantees. Alright, thanks for your report, Foreign. I hope Mystery Inc. can figure this out. I'll let Fred know about the spellbook, Nastia replied. As soon as Shaggy and Foreign and Scooby got back to the hideout, Nastia walked out with the nurse with her. They looked to see Foreign with the baby. The baby is the only one that is alive, Foreign said as she handed the baby to the nurse. Our doctors and nurses will do what they can. Hopefully the baby's healthy and has no problems, Nastia replied. Fred then showed up with the rest of the gang. They had been doing that for a few more missions in Nastia's hideout. What do you find? Fred asked as Foreign, Shaggy, and Scooby stepped inside the barricades of the holdout. Like, we found a spell book, Shaggy replied. Then he handed the spell book to Fred. Jinkies, it looks like someone could have used it, Velma said, as the gang flipped through some of the pages of the book, but stopped when they found a spell. It was a resurrection spell. That seems to be a resurrection spell to bring back those from the dead. But who could have revived the dead? Fred questioned. How would this be why the cat creatures are back? But they died on Moonscar Island a long time ago. This is definitely something, but we could figure this out, Daphne replied. Did you see any of those creatures guarding my guards described? Nasty asked Foreign. Nope, not that I know of, Foreign replied. Like, Scoob, why don't we go chow down some food? Shaggy suggested to his best pal. Row, Raggy, Scooby said. Then the boys headed off to the kitchen. Is there anything else you would like us to do? Thorn asked. Not right now. Why don't you all relax for a bit? Nastia said, as the Hex Girls and Mystery Inc. were in the lounge area, which was pretty empty to say the least, as they were all surrounded at a table with the spell book. Jeepers! Who could have used this spell book? Daphne asked. Well, there's no way the couple would have used it after seeing the baby's been born, Luna added. Someone must have used this book, but left it at the cottage, Forna said. But there's no clue on who could have used it, so I can't make any guarantees. Well, we'll have to figure this out, Velma replied. Rose Martin then walked into the lounge area. Hex Girls and Mystery Inc., Rose began, catching everyone's attention. Nastia wants to see you all. The gang and the Hex Girls all looked at each other, then they headed towards Nastia's office. Rose told us to come here. Is something wrong? Fred asked. Well, gang, I got a call from a hospital a few blocks down. One of my men said that a young girl is trapped there. She's only about 7 years old. Nastia replied, so a few of you guys will have to go. I can go on this mission, Daphne said. I'll go with her, Fred piped in. All right, Nastia replied. She showed the gang the map, and the red circle was on the hospital building, about a few blocks down south. That red circle is where the young girl is trapped. I need at least send 4 people to go down there. Ox and a few of my men went to go find this young girl's father. I could go with Fred and Daphne, Velma offered. I know this is like for 4 people in the group, but it will be okay if Rose goes with them? Thorn asked. Sure, I'll call her to meet you free, Nastia replied. About a half an hour later, Fred, Daphne, and Rose headed down the south with Velma. They were on a mission to search for the 7-year-old girl. The streets were quiet, and there were only few to no zombies in sight. The streets do look frightening, Daphne said. Yeah, no shit, Daphne. Stay together, Fred instructed. Velma did her best not to gag at the smell of rotting bodies. Daphne was trying so hard not to gag as well. So what's these cat creatures that Nastia was talking about? Rose asked. Well, it happened a long time ago when we went to Louisiana on an island, Fred began. It was called Moonscar Island, and we met this girl named Lena. She was living with Simone, and she and Simone welcomed us to her mansion. But then they betrayed us when we walked into a trap. Damn, that sounded rough, Rose replied. She used an axe to take down one of the wandering zombies. So, they were monsters? Yeah, they were cat creatures. Jacques, who was the ferry driver, turned into one as well, and I believe someone brought them back to life, Velma said. But my question is who? Could have been anyone, really, but we'll have to wait and see who did it, Rose said as she, Fred, Velma, and Daphne approached the door to the hospital. This is the location Nastia was talking about. We gotta be quiet while we're in here. Alright, we'll do that, Fred said while nodding. Daphne then noticed that there was a doll in front of the hospital doors. Someone lost their doll, Daphne said while picking up the doll. That might be the little girl's doll. She must have dropped it when she went inside the hospital, Velma replied. It might be a clue. Let's go inside and find her, Daphne said. As everyone walked inside the wandering hospital, it looked trashed and quiet inside. Now there might be zombies in here, so keep as quiet as you can, Rose instructed. As everyone walked inside the hospital, the zombies didn't take notice of the group of survivors walking in. They were wandering and eating the corpses of the dead survivors. So when the group got to the second floor, they saw a lone zombie dog wandering around the hallways. That dog is a zombie. You gotta be cautious about them, Rose warned Fred as he took his crowbar and loaded up. Then he shot the zombie dog down. Nice one, Freddy, Daphne said when she heard banging from the hall to the right. I hear something down on the right. Daphne instructed her friends as they followed her down. As soon as they got more down the hallway, they ended up at the front door, and it was locked. Help me! I'm stuck! I can't get out! A voice called from the other side. Hello, I'm Rose Martin, the police officer. Well, retired one, Rose said from the door. We've been sent here by Nastia to get you out of here. Rose? The young girl said from the door. I'm glad someone came to save me. My name's Katie, and I've been separated from my family. I have found this place when me and my family got separated, Katie explained. You locked this door? Velma asked. Yes, but the door is stuck, and I can't get out, Katie replied. Hang in there, Katie. We'll get you out, Fred said as he picked up a crowbar. Then he wedged it between the door and the frame. While I pried this door open, keep an eye out for zombies. As Fred was prying the door open, Rose saw something coming out of the darkness down the hall. Rose, are you okay? Velma asked. There's something in the darkness. Rose pointed out the crossbow to a shadowy figure. What is that thing? Daphne asked, as Velma and Rose looked more closely at the figure. I think it's one of the cat creatures. One of Nastia's guards did mention that, Velma replied. Let's not attract any attention, Rose instructed, as the cat creature took off in another direction. It disappeared in the flash. Whoa, it must have been the cat creature that the guard said about, Daphne replied. Fred soon broke down the door and set Katie free. Fred had then held Katie in his arms. I got her. Let's get back to the holdout, Fred said as the survivors nodded. Then they headed out of the hospital. As soon as they headed back down towards the streets, when a huge horde of zombies were heading towards them. We gotta get out of here. These zombies are right behind us, Rose instructed. The survivors ran as far as they could to get far away from the zombies. However, Velma for some reason fell and dropped her glasses, and she couldn't see without them. My glasses! Velma exclaimed as she felt around the ground for them. I can't see without my glasses. The zombies were about 10 feet away or so from her. Daphne ran back while Rose opened fire at the zombies, just to keep them at bay. Daphne gave Velma her glasses as the girls ran towards Fred and Rose and Katie. Let's get out of here, and quickly, Daphne said, as the group got away as far as they can from the zombies, and as soon as they got to Nastia's holdout, the zombie horde was no longer following them. You got there okay? No issues? Nastia asked. Yeah, we did manage to get Katie free, Fred replied, as he put down Katie. As the little girl looked around, she saw someone she knew. It was her father. Her father walked out and saw his daughter, so he went out and she ran up to hug him in his arms. Daddy! Katie shouted with joy as her father hugged his daughter. Katie, I'm so glad you're safe, Katie's father replied. He thanked Daphne, Fred, Velma, and Rose for saving his daughter. They can stay here for as long as they like, Nastia said. Is everything okay? Daphne asked. Yes, they are. Did you see anything unusual? Nastia asked. Rose did see a shadowy figure in the hospital we were at, and it looked like that cat creature was one of your guards saw, Velma replied. Did you get a closer look at it? Nastia asked. It took off before we could get a better look, but I do know what we saw. It was that one, Rose said in her statement. Okay, we'll keep an eye out. Why don't you all come inside and rest up? Nastia said, inviting the survivors that were inside on the holdout to relax. Inside the holdout, the Hexgirls were playing a board game while Shaggy and Scooby were eating some junk food they found. Fred, Daphne, and Velma walked in the common room to see their friends. And they also found Ox as he was looking at his wallet. You're back, Florence said happily when she looked up. Hope no one got eaten. No one got eaten, but we did find a young girl locked up in the hospital, Fred started. But we also found a shadowy figure. Rose was spotted at first. Where is Rose? Dusk asked. Was she with you guys? Yeah, she was. She's gone to do some other things, Daphne replied with an explanation. She did see a shadowy figure in the darkness. It was one of the hospital hallways we were at. Holy shit! What was it? Fawn asked as she was shocked to hear what her friend saw. Was it one of the cat creatures or something else? It must have been one of the cat creatures. Yours is what Rose's thoughts are, Velma replied. It took off before we could get a better look at it. That must have been one of the guards saw. Wicked, Dusk commented. We have to get to the bottom of this, gang. Maybe this spell book could reverse the spell somehow, Fred said. As he was looking through the spell book, Daphne then walked up to Ox. What are you looking at, Ox? Daphne asked, wanting to know what Ox was looking at in his wallet. This is a picture of my family before the outbreak, Ox replied. He showed a picture to Daphne, and the picture was Ox with his wife and 3 kids. Before the outbreak, we were a happy family. I had a wife, 2 sons, and a daughter. My life was all perfect. Did they survive when the outbreak started? Daphne asked. She can then soon see a tear running down Ox's cheek, and had a feeling that it was bad news and they didn't make it. And that was when Ox began to tell her. The day the outbreak began was my wife and I were dropping our kids off at school. We were dropping my 2 sons off when my wife heard blood-curdling scream from inside the school. She gave me my 2.5-year-old daughter before she ran inside. She wanted to know what was going on, Ox said. But she never came back out, so I went in with my daughter, and what we saw traumatized my daughter. It was a horrific sight. Was there blood, gore, and zombies? Daphne asked. Ox nodded before continuing. There was a lot of blood, dead bodies, and gore. I never saw my wife or my son since that day, and I knew they were gone. Ox continued his story. My daughter and I were just doing fine. When we found a group of survivors, they were happy to take me in. That was only because I had my daughter with me. About a month or so into the outbreak, my daughter got very sick. Was she bitten at that time? Daphne asked. No, she wasn't. She got very sick, and we were all thinking it was a common cold or something, but we were wrong. She was very sick due to the lack of food we had. We were attacked by raiders at one point, so we had no choice but to give them all what they wanted. And most of us went hungry, but my daughter, sadly, she didn't make it. Ox finished his story as he began to cry. Oh, Ox, I'm so sorry that you lost your family, Daphne said while comforting the muscular man. I would be feeling the same way you are if I lost my friends and family. At least I have you guys. I'm glad I lived, because I would rather die than see my family again in heaven, Ox sighed. No one needs to die, especially after they lost their family, Velma said, comforting Ox. Think of all of us together, we're like a family, Fred added. And Ox, don't say that you wish that you die to be with your family. Like Fred said, Ox is right. Like you have so much to live for, Shaggy explained. I know, you guys. I'm sorry. It's just a depression talking. I think I'll be okay, Ox replied. I'll take this spell book to the officers that Nastia has here. Maybe they can see who used this book, Fred suggested. Maybe we could figure out who used it and bring that brought the cat creatures back to life. I sure hope it's someone we know, or it could be a mystery, Velma added. I'll take it to her. I gotta go on guard duty anyway, Ox said, as he took the book from Fred and then left the common room. I wonder if it's the hideouts that have a vaccine for the Secronomicon virus, Luna asked. There is a possibility, Daphne replied. Maybe we could see how we can get in contact with this Secronomicon bunker again. That could be possible anyways, Thorne said before Nastia walked into the common room. Katie and her father are in good hands. I'm glad she's safe, Nastia said before Fred piped in. Nastia, will the police officers take a look at this spell book? Fred asked, just to see who last used it, not including us that took a look at it. I could see what my officers think, like whoever used this to bring the cat creatures back to life, Nastia replied with a question. Yes, and we might be able to track down the asshole for bringing these people to life, Velma said. Okay, we can do that. We'll let you know when my DNA is found. I'm glad you brought this book over to me, Nastia replied. The next day had arrived when the Hex girls were in the bedroom. They were chilling with Shaggy and Scooby. I wondered if I can get in contact with Secronomicon bunker for a vaccine. Maybe other holdouts that's still in contact with them, Dusk said. That may be possible, unless we go to them for information, Thorne replied. Why, you girls aren't crazy, are you? Shaggy asked as he gulped. We may have to go to the bunker. But if no other holdout has contact with them, Thorne replied as Nastia knocked on their door, so Luna got up to answer. Hey Nastia, is everything okay? Luna asked. Everything is all good. We received some info about the police scan of this spell book, Nastia began. Mystery Inc., and you guys will have to go to Dog's Stockade to get more information. They could detect anyone who last used the spell book. Why couldn't you officers do that? Thorne asked. They knew someone who used to use it before you guys did. I transferred the information to him already, Nastia replied. You'll have to head down there. You're in contact with him too? Luna asked. Yes, I have contact with him when our holdout was raided by raiders a month or so ago. He saved a lot of lives at the time, so he'll help us, Nastia replied as she handed the Hex girls extra ammo and weapons. Where is his holdout? Thorne asked. Like, where in Fairview is it? Shaggy added. Rhea, Scooby also added. Nastia pulled out her map. Dog Stockade is located on the northwest from this holdout. I suggest you be very careful up there. Nastia replied. There is a stronger zombies up there, even mutated ones. Mutated ones? Thorn asked. That sounds very wicked, Dusk said. Sounds really messed up, Luna also added. I'll let Dog know that you're coming up. Mystery Inc. is getting ready, Nastia said. The Hex Girls with Shaggy and Scooby got ready to leave the holdout. Outside the holdout, Mystery Inc. got everything in the mystery machine. All right, gang, we're all geared up, Fred said as Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby climbed into the van. You can radio our holdout if anything goes wrong, Nastia said to Fred. I hope you all stay safe. I'll take Ox and get in my car and go from there, Rose said. She loaded up her car with her gear. We'll be fine in our vehicle, Thorn added. Stay safe from the cat creatures, Nastia, Daphne said to Nastia. As soon as everyone was in their vehicles, they soon drove up away from Nastia's hideout.